Well, now that we've got the countertop free from its mold, it's time for the next step, which can be a real grind. Literally. We have our countertop here, of course, and what we're going to be doing is grinding the top surface to expose the aggregate that's hidden inside this piece. Now there's a couple ways you can do it. You can do it with a dry abrasive diamond pad, but I like to use the wet because it's less dust, and I think the wet does a little bit better job as far as being able to lubricate and grind at the same time. So we have a special tool here that has a water attachment to it, and we're going to be using these diamond abrasive discs that are made for grinding concrete countertops. This is a 50 grit that we're going to start with, which is rather abrasive, but we need that in order to grind this top down. So let's get going. Now in the first pass, all I did really was enough to take the cream off the top. And I try to do this just to make sure that I don't gouge the surface and try to keep it as level as possible. I don't want any peaks and valleys while I'm grinding. So I try to do this in steps to reduce the amount of valleys that might occur if you grind too hard in one spot. So the next step now will be to grind down to the aggregate, and you'll start to see some of the pieces of glass appear. Well, now that we've got the initial grind done, it's time to do a little filling. It's impossible, as far as I can tell, to ever get a concrete form or a concrete countertop complete without some form of bug holes or air holes. Although the vibrator really helps a lot, there's still a few holes we have to patch in this top. So what we're going to do now is to fill in those holes and then let this set overnight, and then tomorrow we'll do the final grind. The cement putty, or paste that was made yesterday, has now had a chance to set up. There's a film over the top of the surface here. We're going to take the grinder and grind that down with the 80 grit pad, and then we'll gradually increase the grit sizes until we get a nice smooth top. We're going to go up to about 400 grit, and that should be plenty smooth for the surface and yet still allow a sealer to penetrate into the cement. And that'll be the following step after this. So let's get started and do some grinding. Well, we've now worked our way up to 400 grit, and we've polished this enough. So I'm going to let this dry out, and then we'll go to the next step, which is putting it in place, and hopefully it'll fit.